I was 22 years old when I first met Emily. At that time, my life was far from easy. I was an ordinary student barely making ends meet. Day after day, I sat through lectures, trying not to lose focus. But my thoughts often drifted away, about paying rent, about having to buy food, about how to survive in this big and harsh world. In the evenings, I worked part-time at a gas station. Long shifts, cold, damp autumn seeping through my clothes, and constant fatigue. My body and soul screamed for rest, but I had to keep moving forward. I had no money, no special connections, and my dreams seemed to fly far, far away, beyond reach. One autumn evening, when the rain was softly tapping on the rooftops, and the cold wind reminded me that winter was near, I was walking home, feeling tired with every step. The streets were empty, only the light of the street lamps reflected in the puddles gathered after the rain. The air smelled of dampness and wet asphalt, and that scent seemed to penetrate right into my heart, deepening the feeling of loneliness and despair. I thought I would never find my place, that life was just an endless struggle. But then my gaze accidentally fell on a small bakery I had often passed by before, barely noticing it. That evening, warm yellow light poured out from its window, illuminating the narrow street and giving a feeling of coziness and calm. This light seemed to call me inside, and I, without even realizing why, stepped into the bakery. Behind the counter stood her, Emily. Her face was lit by soft light, her eyes shone with tenderness, and her smile was so sincere and warm that I felt the cold and fatigue retreat, if only for a moment. She was different, not like anyone I had met before. In a world where people often judge by appearance or material status, she looked at me simply as a person with kindness and understanding. It was something unusual and rare, like a ray of sunshine on a gray, gloomy day. I stood there, as if enchanted, unable to look away, and she, with ease and warmth in her voice, asked about my dreams. We started talking, at first a little uncertainly, then everything became natural and simple. I told her that I dreamed of becoming a designer, creating something beautiful and genuine, but often doubted my own abilities. She listened carefully, as if every word of mine was important to her, and her eyes shone with support. After her shift, she quietly handed me a small bag with some leftover pastries and said, "For you." That simple gesture of kindness, that moment of warmth and attention, made me feel that not everything in this world was lost. A small spark of hope lit up in my heart, hope that my life could change, that there was something beyond fatigue and hardship ahead. I didn't yet know that this meeting would become the beginning of a story full of love, trials, and a new chance for happiness. After that first meeting at the bakery, I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. Her smile, the warm light in her eyes, and the way she looked at me, all of it stayed in my mind like a warm memory in the middle of a cold autumn. Every time I passed by that bakery, I found some excuse to go inside, even if I didn't need to buy anything. I just wanted to stay for a little while in that world where she was, where kindness and calm prevailed. We started talking more often. With each day, our conversations became more open and deeper. I told her about my life, about difficulties, fears, and dreams, and she listened without judgment, as if she were my greatest ally. Emily didn't just support me with words. Her attention and kindness helped me believe in myself. She believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. I remember one of our conversations when we were sitting on a bench near that same bakery, and she was telling me about her plans. Emily wanted to show people the world of beauty. She dreamed of opening a small art gallery where everyone could find something for their soul. Her words were filled with light and hope, and I felt that I wanted to be part of that world, to create something good together with her. Then I realized that our meeting was not just a coincidence. It was the beginning of something greater, the beginning of my path to myself and to a real life. Emily gave me what I lacked the most, faith and warmth, which helped me take the first step forward. She taught me to look at the world differently, not through the lens of fear and scarcity, but through the eyes of hope and possibilities. With her by my side, it began to seem that even the coldest autumn could turn into the beginning of something new and beautiful. After we became closer, I began to open up to Emily more and more. In the past, I had always hidden my weaknesses, afraid that people wouldn't understand or would judge me. But with her, it was different. I felt safe like never before. Every conversation felt like a small revelation, a step toward understanding myself. I shared my dreams about design, about how I wanted to create not just things, but stories, emotions, beauty that touches the heart. I told her about my fears, the fear of failure, the fear of staying unknown, the fear of being alone. Emily listened carefully and always found the right words of support. She had a way of inspiring me, even when I didn't believe in myself. But life wasn't easy. There were difficulties and misunderstandings. My job at the gas station left me with little time and energy, and studying demanded my full focus. There were often moments when I wanted to give up. Sometimes it felt like the world around me was sinking into grayness, and even Emily's warm words couldn't completely chase away that darkness. We faced challenges together. She taught me not to fear falling but to see it as a chance to rise stronger. We laughed and cried together, talking late into the night about everything. About fears, about hopes, about the future we dreamed of building. I remember one time, sitting on a bench in the park, I told her that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to make my dreams come true. She took my hand and said, "You're already on that path, and I'll be by your side to support you every step of the way." Those words became an anchor I could hold on to, and I believed in them. That period of our relationship was a time when I learned how to be myself, to accept help, and to love, not just others, but also myself. And even though the journey wasn't easy, with Emily, it felt brighter and more understandable. Over time, our conversations grew deeper, but life didn't stop throwing challenges our way. My financial problems didn't disappear. On the contrary, they became even more pressing. My studies demanded more and more time and effort, while the job at the gas station left me drained. I felt the pressure building. I had to choose between rest and continuing to work and study. I often came home completely exhausted, and thoughts about the future weighed on me even more. Emily supported me during those moments. She understood what was keeping me afloat, not just hope, but her belief in me. But things weren't simple in her life either. She had her own problems, family difficulties, unresolved issues, and personal doubts. We shared these things with each other, trying to be each other's strength and comfort. Sometimes we argued because of exhaustion, misunderstandings, fears that crept into our hearts. It was hard, and sometimes it felt like everything could fall apart, that we were just too different. But every time, we found the strength to speak openly, to listen, and to forgive. Because we wanted to fight for what we had built, for what was real. I especially remember one moment when I could barely afford to pay rent, and I had another night shift at work. I was confused and tired, and that was when Emily offered her help. She brought food, helped with chores, simply stayed by my side. It was more than support. It was proof of true friendship and love that doesn't fear hardship. That time became a lesson for me that real feelings aren't about being together only during the good times, but about holding on through the storm. And I started to understand that this strength, this mutual support, would help me move forward, stay unbroken, and keep my dream alive. After going through the hard times, a new feeling emerged, a sense of hope and possibilities. Emily and I began talking not only about the present, but also about the future. She was my inspiration, and I felt that together we could achieve more than either of us alone. We sat in a small cafe, where the smell of fresh coffee filled the air, surrounded by quiet conversations and soft music. I shared my dreams with her about design, creativity, and how I wanted to create something real, something that would last after I'm gone. She listened attentively and then shared her own dreams, her desire to travel, to explore the world, and her wish to support me in everything. We started making plans, small but meaningful, saving money for courses to help me grow, choosing books together that inspired us, and even dreaming about a trip together to escape everyday life and feel free. It was a special feeling, knowing that the person beside you is someone you can share everything with, fears, doubts, joy, and hope. And most importantly, that this person believes in you, even when you doubt yourself. And though the difficulties were still there, we began to see them not as walls, but as steps leading to something greater. And each day with her gave me more confidence that even small steps matter, as long as you take them together. Eventually, life began to present new challenges. Our dreams seemed bright, but reality often had its own plans. Work, studies, financial stress. It all weighed heavily on us, and it wasn't always easy to keep the faith and support each other. I remember how I once lost my job at the gas station. It was a blow that I struggled to recover from. Months of searching, rejections, and disappointment felt like doors closing on the future. But Emily didn't give up on me. She told me it's never too late to start again, that we would get through it together. She helped me find a new job. Not ideal, but enough to stay afloat. Those moments taught me not to give up, even when it feels like the world is against you. Beyond work, we also began to change internally. I became more confident, but also more responsible, and Emily began to show new sides of herself, strong, vulnerable, and genuine. She supported me not just with words, but with actions, showing me that love isn't only a feeling, but daily effort and mutual respect. It was a time of growth, not always easy, but absolutely necessary. We were learning to face our fears, accept our mistakes, and build what we could call a real life together. As the seasons changed, so did we. Our relationship was no longer just about support, it was about shared growth. We began to learn not only how to survive in this world, but how to live meaningfully. Emily encouraged me to pursue what I loved. I began devoting more time to design, practicing, creating small projects, and sharing them online. Her feedback was sincere, thoughtful, and always uplifting. I saw how her belief in me turned into my own belief in myself. And I tried to support her too, to listen when she had doubts, to be there when she was tired after work, to bring a little light into her everyday life. I realized that love is not just about taking, but also about giving, without expectations, simply because you care. We often spent evenings walking in the park, talking about the future, not in lofty dreams, but in small steps. About how we could live together, what city we'd like to move to, what work would bring us both joy. It all seemed so real because we spoke from the heart, and the heart doesn't lie. Those were peaceful yet important days. Days when love grows not through grand gestures, but through everyday moments. Through attention, care, warmth, and the desire to grow, not only for yourself, but for someone else. But no story is without its storm. Ours came unexpectedly. Emily received an offer to study abroad, a unique opportunity she had dreamed of for years. It was her chance to grow, to take a big step toward her goals. But it also meant distance, separation, and uncertainty. I remember how she told me about it, her voice trembling. She didn't want to hurt me, didn't want to lose what we had built. But I saw in her eyes, this was important to her, truly important. And I understood, if I truly loved her, I had to let her go. Those were the hardest days, filled with inner struggle, tears, long conversations. We considered all the options. Could I go with her? Was it possible to wait? Was our bond strong enough to survive time and distance? In the end, we decided she had to go, and I had to stay. It was the most painful decision in our relationship, but it was also the most honest. We promised to stay in touch, to support each other, to remain part of each other's lives, but we also knew everything might change. We were risking not only the present, but the future we had dreamed of. That goodbye at the station was one of the most difficult moments of my life. Her eyes were full of tears, and my heart was full of fear, but also full of hope, because love, even if it changes, doesn't disappear. After Emily left, everything changed. The apartment felt emptier, the days longer, and my thoughts heavier. At first, we wrote and called often, sharing our days, our feelings, but with time, the connection began to fade. She had her new life, her new world. I understood that, and tried not to hold her back. I wanted her to be happy, even if that happiness didn't include me. In those months, I learned to be alone. I returned to my dreams, tried to concentrate on creativity, work, growth, but something inside felt broken. Not because I lost her, but because I lost part of myself with her. I went through periods of doubt about everything. Who am I without her? What do I really want? Is my dream even real, or just an escape from loneliness? But slowly, day by day, I began to find answers. I saw that love, real love, doesn't enslave, but frees. That part of our story will always be in me, but that doesn't mean I can't continue writing my own story. Emily remained in my heart, but now, not as a missing piece, but as a memory of something beautiful and real. And I finally understood. To love is not always to hold on. Sometimes it means to let go and keep going forward, with gratitude, with lessons learned, with an open heart. Time passed. The pain of separation eased, and I slowly returned to myself. I changed jobs, found a better place to live, and began truly working on my dream, not just to survive, but to create. I began to believe in myself again, step by step, and I saw that the world was not standing still. It waited. I just had to act. Sometimes I would still think of Emily, not with sadness, but with warmth. She was part of my story, of my growth. And I knew that even if our paths no longer crossed, she would always be someone who helped me become who I am now. I met new people, opened myself up to new experiences, began to live not in memory of the past, but in the present. There were moments of loneliness, yes, but they no longer crushed me. I had learned to be strong, to rely on myself, and most importantly, to keep moving forward. One evening, sitting alone with a cup of coffee and a sketchbook, I realized something simple but important. Life goes on, and every ending is also a beginning. It happened suddenly, when I least expected it. I was at an exhibition. My work had finally been accepted by a local gallery, and I came to see how others would react. And among the crowd, I saw her, Emily. She looked different, more mature, confident, but those eyes, they were still the same. She noticed me, and we both smiled. Uncertain, emotional, genuine. We talked for hours that evening. No pressure, no demands, just two people who once loved each other deeply, now standing before one another as if time had folded into a single moment. She told me about her studies, her experiences, her doubts. I told her about my journey, my growth, my new self. We didn't speak of getting back together. It wasn't necessary. We had both changed. But in that moment there was deep, mutual respect, care, and understanding. And that was enough. We parted that evening with a warm hug. No promises, no expectations, just peace. The kind that comes when you realize everything happened the way it was meant to. That meeting with Emily didn't return me to the past. It helped me finally let go of it completely. I saw clearly how much I'd grown, how many steps I'd taken on my own, and I was proud of myself. I continued to create. My work began to reach more people, and for the first time I felt that I had something to say to the world. Not because I wanted recognition, but because I had lived through something real. Love, loss, hope, struggle, everything that makes a person human. I realized that the greatest strength is not in holding on to what once was, but in accepting what is and continuing to dream. And love, even if it doesn't last forever, still leaves behind the strength to love again, to live, to create, and to be open to the world. And now, when I walk down the street, I often smile for no reason, because I know life is beautiful in all its complexity. And every chapter, even the hardest, brings us closer to who we truly are.